oh my god, I can't wait to buy wire my speakers. Oh my god, I need to find a speaker which is capable of being bi-wired. Oh my god, have you ever heard a speaker which is bi-wired? Bi-wiring adds nothing to the sound signature, okay? I know a lot of you are upset right now at the fact that, oh my god, what is this blasphemous thing that Yash just said? But yes, okay, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, I'm sorry to break your hearts, but bi-wiring adds nothing to the sound signature. Why? Okay, I'm going to show you why. For those of you who don't know what bi-wiring is, let me show you. Okay, so now this is a diagram, a very rough diagram, okay, don't judge me, of a typical speaker setup, which is not bi-wired. So the grid I've drawn is essentially a border between the amplifier and the outside world, and all that is housed inside the speaker. So all of this is inside the speaker. The crossover, the obviously the high frequency driver and the low frequency driver. The high frequency driver is the tweeter, the low frequency driver is the subwoofer. Just so we're all clear. Now all of this is happening inside the speaker. This is a very standard setup. You have your amplifier, you have the positive end of the amplifier connected to the red terminal of the speaker, and because you've been a good boy, the negative terminal of the amplifier is connected to the black connector of the speaker. As you can see over here, I have connected the subwoofer module in parallel with the tweeter module. So essentially, because it's one amplifier powering the entire speaker, and let's assume this is a two-way speaker, so you only have like a woofer and a tweeter, and the tweeter takes care of the mid and high frequencies. You've essentially split the voltage right at the start, and you're getting the same amount of voltage into the same sort of, because each driver is going to present itself as a resistor to the amplifier. Let's say in this example this is 4 ohms or whatever, this is 8 ohms, and this is also 8 ohms, so it's going to present itself as 4 ohms in front of the speaker, because when two resistors are connected in parallel, they half the resistance value. If they're connected in series, they double the resistance value. So let's say the tweeter is 8 ohms, the sub is 8 ohms, together it's a speaker which is at 4 ohms. This is very simple. I'm dumbing it down, obviously. Do not hold my word as gospel. This is how a speaker is made. It's much more complicated than that. So now, bi-wiring, okay? When you're going to bi-wire, you're essentially, what you're trying to do is you're going to try to add double the voltage to your tweeter and subwoofer, because you're not splitting it. Okay, not fair, I'm sorry, but let's just see it how it works in diagram. Essentially what you're doing is, if you've ever seen a bi-wired speaker, from the factory they ship it with either jumper cables, which essentially, how you bi-wire a speaker is you connect the leads of the amplifier to the high frequency driver, and then you use a jumper from the high frequency to the low frequency. So the jumpers are either come from the factory that the speaker is made from, the cables, which are like very short, or they use like these very thin steel plates which connect the high frequency driver to the low frequency driver, which is essentially the same diagram which I've drawn here. The only difference being that the speaker, which we had shown the internals of, is now, because we're showing it, we're doing the jumper cables and everything on the outside. This is how it's going to look. Essentially, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but electrically this is the same. You're just adding the jumper phase outside instead of inside. The voltage to both of them remains the same. The voltage to the tweeter, the voltage to the subwoofer remains the same, because essentially electrically it's a parallel connection. The resistance to each remains the same. So, and with Ohm's law, V is IR. So if you have two constants there, you can't really have a very high current draw and keep the voltage the same, right? That's my 2 cents on why bi-wiring doesn't work, because it's essentially the same, right? You're just throwing in a fancy word for it. And I'm not the only one who thinks like this. A lot of high-end speaker manufacturers do not believe in the concept of bi-wiring. Take Dyne Audio, for example. I remember they had a press release because they were inundated with requests like, "Oh my God, please bi-wire my speaker. Please bi-wire your speakers. I will not buy this series if it's not bi-wired," and stuff like that. And they just came out. They just came out with a statement saying like, "Yeah, we've conducted several tests, and bi-wiring adds nothing to the sound signature." Which in fairness, yes, I agree with, because if you look at it from an electrical standpoint, like as literally just looking at it from as an electrical circuit, how it should be, you can just see that it's connected parallelly. So the tweeter, even if you add a mid-range driver, that's essentially 3 resistors connected in parallel instead of 2 that we're seeing here. The voltage drop across all of them remains the same. They each appear as a resistance to the amplifier. So in essence, it's adding nothing to the sound signature, because you're not doubling the voltage, right? You're not. The resistance value remains the same. The voltage across them remains the same. So yeah, there you go. A very controversial opinion. Have you ever heard speakers that are bi-wired, or slash have you heard them when they were not bi-wired and then you bi-wired them? Did you hear a noticeable difference? I'd love to get to know your comments. Leave them down below. Let me know. Cheers. See you soon.